Hey, always fun at the beginning. Had my mic on mute. How's everybody doing? Hello, how are you? Hello. Shwami Streams here. Kev, hey Kev. Yeah, I feel like I just saw you too. How's it going, Kev? Welcome to Shwami Streams for another fun-filled episode. Oh my. Shwami Streams, fun coding, fun, and a bit of chaos. And of course, there was a little bit of chaos as I had my mic on mute when I started, but luckily I remembered to unmute it. That's always a good way to start the show. And what's going on? What's going on with you guys? I just finished I was on a Teams meeting with a bunch of Microsoft MVPs. Kev is talking about that because that's where I just saw Kev. He's another Microsoft MVP, as I am. And we were talking about how to get like user groups up online and things like that. And I bailed out of that a couple minutes ago so I could get ready to present my own stream. But it was fun, and I did that with Chris Gomez, who's one of the hosts of the Dev Talk Show with me. And that was fun. And now, here we are at Shwami Streams, and got some stuff I'm looking forward to in the future with Shwami Streams. I finally ordered a green screen, and I think it's coming either tonight or tomorrow. I decided to get one of these green screens that goes on the back of your chair. Seemed like the easiest way to do it for my particular setup. Ooh, my chair is reclining. So I can't wait to see how that goes. I have not used a green screen at home. I believe it's pretty easy to use, and especially with OBS, I'm going to try to do some different kind of scenes. I also did something different with my camera. I zoomed it in more, so it's like a smaller shot, and I think it'll fit better on the stream. So always trying to play around with this stuff and figure out what's best to make this stuff work. And I just can't wait to get out of the house. I don't know about you guys. I probably say this every show, but I'm ready. I'm ready to go back to my office a couple days a week and work with actual people and see some smiling faces. I really miss really miss seeing people's faces and hanging out with people. So, last week on the stream, I was working on what I'm always working on these days, 1 hour at a time. Hard to get a lot done, but last week we had such great user interaction, and it was really fun to chat back and forth with people. And I like that. So maybe it doesn't matter how much gets done in a given show, but we're working on the website, and I'm going to start off, as I always do, by giving a little overview of the website. And for new viewers, hey, thanks for the host, by the way, Bruno. I didn't get a shout out to you. Thanks for hosting. And Dev Talk Show, of course, thanks for hosting. And let's see that. Hey, Space Shot's here. Hey, Space Shot. Oh, I just said we were working on this Teams meeting for the MVP. So let's see. Wait, I thought 3 lines of code today and a break to talk to everyone around the office was normal. Oh, that's what, well, see, maybe you work at home all the time, so your office is the same, but I'm used to going around and, knocking on doors and stopping by cubes and saying hi to people. But yeah, right. That's what this is. That's what this show is like. Yeah, I get about 3 lines of code written, and then I talk to people on chat. So maybe this is like just like being in the office. Space Shot, maybe it is. So, the website, got a little bit of work done on it last week. What we were doing last time, and I'm just going to run this as I always do, just as a way to get my head back into it for a minute or two at the beginning of the stream here. And let's wait while this fires up. I'm looking to see which screen the browser is going to pop open on. This one. All right, so let's bring this over here. And we will see our lovely... Oh, wow! Some services are not able to be... Oh, I never ran this before. Okay, this is good. So I didn't run it at the end of last week's show. I did testing. Space Shot, thanks for hosting. And Kev says, I miss working in an office, but 8 hours work. Well, I miss working in an office, bill 8 hours, work 2. Yeah. So, it's, I think it's usually the opposite, right? You work 8 hours and you end up billing 2. Is always the way I felt when I was a consultant, contractor / private. Because I always felt like, well, I was trying to set things up, and I always felt like I could only bill certain parts of the work I did, and that was always fun. But maybe that's what he means by working in an office, because he doesn't really work in an office. He works on his own, and so he misses the old hanging out part. But he's independent, and being independent has its bonuses and has its benefits, right, Kev? So. All right, so at the end of last episode, I was adding some more code in here. I was adding some validation logic in, and I am fairly certain by this exception, and what a great way to start the show off with, like, bang, fail, exception right off the bat, because that's what always happens, right? So I'm pretty sure I know what this is. I added in some things like validators and some logic, and I'll bet that's a dependency injection error, although... Did I make any changes that would involve dependency injection? Usually that's what that is, although maybe let's try this again and take another little look. So it's two exceptions. I can make these bigger. I should learn from Chris Gomez, and I should take some time and redo my format so this is all readable on screen, but I can zoom in on this. So this old, some services are not able to be constructed. Right? Oh, I know what it is. It's the calendar. Yes, I was right. It's a dependency injection thing. So I have a validator. Oh, let's just jump right into the fun here. I have in my back end a validator, which I keep under mini and validators. And I have this add episode DTO validator because we're adding an episode to the history of the show kind of thing. And I started using this iCalendar to help with testing. And the iCalendar is a wrapper around sort of date time now functionality to make it more testable, which works great. And now I can easily control what the date would be. But when I try to construct this validator, it says, hey, I don't know what an iCalendar is because I didn't give it anything to inject in its place. So it worked fine for testing, but doesn't work very well for running. So if we look at iCalendar, first thing we need to do is give it something to inject in its place. And we have something called calendar. And all it needs to do is return this now. It's just a way to mock out what now is, what datetime.now is from a testing perspective. And so what's happening is, the way dependency injection works, as you guys may or may not know, is we use dependency injection to allow us to compose, let's say, classes with parts of other classes, and inject logic in that you want to have single responsibility. And wow, I didn't really think through a good way to explain that on the fly. But I have this validator that depends on this calendar. And so what I need to do is tell dependency injection to add that for me. Now, maybe this is a good time to take a moment out and let me look at my to-do list here, which I should have on a different screen here. Let me just look at this. I think what we're going to do is, let's try doing this. So right now I'm using the standard dependency injection. Wow, here we go, on the fly, changing what the topic of the show is going to be. I was planning on writing some code and some unit tests. I don't recall if I go to, let's just check my NuGet packages. This will be a cheater's way to find out if I'm using Lamar. So I'm not using a package called Lamar. I'm using the standard dependency injection that's built into ASP.NET. And it works fairly well. Those of you guys that are out there watching and listening. I'm always curious to know what people use for dependency injection these days. It used to be I always used Structuremap, which was a very good DI container. I was always pretty happy with it. When we moved to .NET Core and ASP.NET Core, you have this built-in DI stuff. Freestyle says he does it by hand. So let's take a look at, maybe you'll like, yeah, you are, thanks for the laugh. You are crazy. Let's take a look. Maybe you'll like Lamar. I'll show that today. So the way dependency injection works in ASP.NET is if I go to my startup here, you'll see a lot of code that looks like this. Services.add transient, and here's add scoped, and different things that you can do to wire up the dependency injection. And what this pretty much says is it tells, and I'm not going into every bit of detail here, but it tells ASP.NET, hey, when someone asks for an episode history orchestrator, why don't you give me this thing called an episode history orchestrator? And when I ask for an get history DTO validator, why don't you give me a get history DTO validator? So what all this is just configuration of dependency injection. And now, in order to make this work for my calendar, I would need to come in here and say, for iCalendar, I would like to add a calendar. Okay? And I have to add my usings in there, of course, stuff like that. So this isn't too hard to do, but what happened? My code failed this morning right off the bat because I forgot to go in here and set this up. And it's a common problem, but there's better ways to deal with this. So let's sort of back this out and let's not add that. And how could I have made this easier? So what I like about some of these other dependency injection frameworks, like Structuremap, is that it has a function called scan. And with scan, you can say, I want to do, and I'll just type it here, even though this isn't really real. I could, I did something there. Yeah, I had a feeling I X'd out one of those things, okay. I could sort of tell it like, this is going to be pseudocode di.scan, meaning look around for what you think needs to be injected. And then you tell it to, like, I don't know what the syntax is. We'll find this later. Use default conventions or something like that. And this was sort of what it worked in Structuremap. And by default conventions, what that meant was, hey, if you see something that looks the same, and the only difference is that there's an I in front. This is one of those default conventions that we as .NET developers are used to. And our friend Space Shot has told us on the Dev Talk show that other languages do that sort of in opposite ways and things like that. But don't want to get into all that. This is .NET code that I'm writing. This is C#. And the convention is to pretty much stick an I in front of these things most of the time, but not always. And so that becomes a default convention. And so what we can do with a different kind of dependency injection framework is get rid of all this and say, hey, I don't want to have to tell you that. Do something that looks like that. Now, I have to remember how to do it because I haven't done it in a while. I have some projects that use it, but let's take a shot. I'm going to use this framework called Lamar. Lamar is really easy to use. And did I do a blog post on this? I don't know if I did. Wouldn't it be easy if I could find my own blog post and then I could copy my own code? I feel like I was gonna do a post on it. I'm scanning and I'm looking at my blog right now, which doesn't get the most love, I'll be honest. I don't know if I've ever done anything on Lamar. That's too bad. I guess I had planned to, so I guess we're gonna do it now. So if I look at Lamar, I think you'll see that how much easier this is. So let's go to Lamar, I don't know, Lamar DI, I guess, to see if I can find this, because I don't want, yeah, Jasper FX, this is Lamar getting started. Now, I mentioned earlier that I like Structuremap, and this is sort of the modern replacement for Structuremap in the .NET Core world. And they talk about it a little bit, so it's from the same people, a lot of the methods, excuse me, a lot of the methods will look the same, and it has a lot of the same features, but it's a faster, as it says right here, a faster inversion of control container, and brings in a lot of the features of the old Structuremap library, which that's all good enough for me. So I think there was some easy getting started stuff. Let me see if I can find like this. This is kind of what I was talking about before. This is what I want to do. I want to wire it up simple as that. So in order to do that, I need to add some references. Use Lamar with ASP.NET Core applications. Also install Lamar Microsoft Dependency Injection. So I think before that, I need to install Lamar. So let's see how easy we can make this. And let's find out. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm going to go to my ASP.NET app, and I'm going to manage my NuGet packages. And I'm going to add Lamar. Oh, I got to spell it right. First step. Oh, I'm on installed. So does everyone do this every single time you go to the NuGet UI? I'm always on the wrong tab here. So it just always works that way. So let's try this again. Lamar. There it is by Jeremy Miller. And here's Lamar Microsoft DI. That's the second one I want to have. Kevin, thanks for validating that I'm, well, I know I'm crazy, but it's always nice to hear that another person is crazy like yourself. So thank you. Thanks for being there and like admitting it. We're all in this together, right? We all admit we make the same crazy things happen. So you know what I always wish you could do in here? Maybe there's a tip to do this. If anyone knows, I would love to be able to multi-select these things and say install both of these. But I don't believe I can. I haven't ever figured that out. So let's install Lamar. And it's going to install a couple other things. That's fine. And I'll accept that. And oh, there's a warning I'm getting about it. No, wait, that's interesting. Oh, that's in tests. Okay, I'll have to try to look at fixing that. So that's in. And now let's do a little more dependency injection. Two simple packages, which have a whole bunch of other stuff going on inside them, as we can see here. And I'm always quick to just say, sure. I don't know why I don't say, do not show this again, because I always just come in here and say, yes. Seems kind of silly. All right, let's go back to that blog post, whatever this is, instructions. And simply, where were we? Right here. ASP.NET Core. What I really need to do is tell it to use Lamar in my main, okay, under the web host builder. I'm going to move this to another screen. And you know what? Let's compile, because I see that I don't like to see things not saved and compiled. And let's go to program. Go to program. And in here, in my main, well, I need to do this in this web host builder. And so it wants me to just say .use Lamar. And then the order of these things is always interesting. So it says simply, oh, where'd it go? You know, use Lamar in this new web host builder. Now I've got this configure web host defaults thing, and I've fixed this in the past, but I don't know if I need to. I wonder if I can just do .use Lamar. Thank goodness for that. And we'll test this and make sure that that works. So I've got that, and then I need to go into my startup. And this is sort of typical for adding middleware, which with this becomes middleware. I'm going to go into here, and all I'm going to do is say scan. So I'm going to say services.scan. Okay. And there's two things that are happening in here. First, let's get my, come on. Come on. It's not giving me any help for adding my thing. So let's just do using Lamar. I think this is probably where I need this, that full one, I think? I don't know. Let's find out. No, that didn't take, 'cause it's still gray. Let's just try Lamar. Maybe it's in the sample. Let's see. can take in service startup, configure container. Oh, configure container. Right. I remember this now. So I have to change things a little bit. I was going a little too quick. So I have to have this configure container method. Okay. I remember doing this in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do configure container. And now it does seem to work inside of here because I have a service registry, whereas this is an iServices collection. Those are two different things. So let's get rid of that. And so now I have this configure container, which also says services.add log MVC. And so what we'll see is that all these other things, if I remember correctly, need to get moved into this. Let's see what else it says in here. There's still configure, and we need configure, but we need your configure container method can take a service registry object from Lamar for service in place of the service collection interface I showed before. So I have configure, I think all this stuff can just move up into there. So I probably don't want what they had. Let's get rid of this because we didn't have that stuff before. And let's do these things, which is my configuration for my authentication. And we're going to hope this is all going to work. Now I need this application, and I need all these things, right? This is all part of the stuff. And then what we're going to look at is I still need this because I'm doing specific DI stuff. There's certain things that you want to control the DI for, and there's certain things that you want to just let it do its thing with. So let's move that up to here. Okay. And then all these things, we really don't need that. All right. Let's just comment it out just to show we don't need it because we've got this thing called with default conventions. Okay. Now, this isn't going to totally work. I'm going to comment this out. We'll delete this in a few minutes, but I'm going to comment it out just so we remember. And the reason that this isn't going to work is because of this other thing. So this says use default conventions, but use default conventions with the calling assembly. And what that means is it's going to scan. It's going to, oh, wait. Maybe I did that wrong. This kind of stuff I don't think belongs in here. This stuff goes outside of the scan. Sorry. Okay. Let's see if I can format that. Let's see. Format. You know what happened? So by the way, in case anyone's wondering, and I'm losing my street cred as a .NET developer, I used to know how to like format in Visual Studio by just like a keystroke. And I think it's like Control K. No, what is it? Control K. No, not that one. That's what is it? Control. Anyway, I used to know, and then I switched over to VS Code for a lot of stuff, and they use different keystrokes, and I find that I'm like all confused and can never remember. I like lost the ability to remember shortcuts. So I don't know. Where the heck is format this page? Isn't it one of these things here, people? Outlining. It's not under format. It's probably right here. I think it's under this edit menu. Isn't it? I'm probably like scanning right past it. This is the kind of stuff that makes me crazy when I can't remember the way to... Oh, let's just do this. Format document is Control-E-D. Oh, right. Wait. What is it? That didn't sound familiar to me. Format. By the way, you can always use this quick view to see these kind of things. Format document is Control-E and D. I feel like I used to use a different keystroke for that. I did not do that ever. I don't remember. Anyway, so now we can see things a little bit clearer here. And I can see that these are the services that I want to specifically do, right? Specifically want to control how they get injected. And here, no, some of this stuff is also supposed to get moved out. Hang on. Service. Oh, this is all part of one thing, right? Configure. That goes from here to, oh my gosh, I messed this thing up. Control Z for the win here. Let's go back out and get rid of all that stuff. And under configure container, what happened here? Let's put it back the way it was because I messed something up. So these things, I don't know, it was getting a little blurry and I didn't like the way it was looking. These things all go up into here, okay? And then, wait, I'm missing something. Where's the stuff that... let's do this. Oops. Startup. Undo changes. Let's just take it back. So I thought there was more stuff in there. Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing and we're going to start again. Public void configure, I think it was container that they called it. Container. Let's just look at the thing. Configure container. It takes a service registry. Okay. So when all else fails, just, do it again. Okay. And then in here, we're going to take all this stuff up to the things I don't want to deal with. Okay. And then we're going to take this scan section where they're scanning to make everything nice and easy. We're going to put that below. And we're going to go back in here and we're going to put it below here. And it may be better on the top because the order of things, sometimes it can override. So I'd like to put it at the top actually. What that'll mean is it'll scan for certain dependencies, but then I can sort of override them manually if I choose to down here. And so inside a scan, this is where we don't need any of this stuff, okay? Because it's going to do these for us because these are following the default conventions. So let's go back up here and we're saying do it. Oh, I didn't add my Lamar, right? Okay, so this is the part I was trying to get to here, the calling assembly. What this says is go into your, what it's telling in my mind, the way it's saying is it says, Lamar, hey, go look at the calling assembly, the Swami streams.asp.web.asp.net. That is the assembly that we're in here, right? And go look in there and look for things that look like this, meaning there's a class and there's an interface and the name is just about the same, except there's an I in front of it. The problem is, in my case, it's not going to find a whole lot of stuff, if any, in here because my classes are in this like back-end library, okay? So what I need to do is remember how to do this, but in addition to calling the calling assembly, I can say something like assembly. Let's see what kind of stuff I got here. Assembly name. There's a way to do like a starts with in here. Let me see if I can find a snippet of code out on the web so I don't have to type it. And let's just do assembly starts with, I don't know. I know it's probably out there if I look for like something like Structuremap, but if I do like, no, scan assembly starts with something like that. Let's see if that gets me to where I want to do. Assembly scanning, autofact is probably the same. I'm not using autofact. I wouldn't be surprised if the syntax is the same. But let's just do under Lamar. Let's see if I can. It's probably right on the documents. Scan, assembling, scanning, service range scan. Let's see. Assembly containing type. That's not the one I want to do. Calling. Scan the calling assembly. Search assemblies on a file system. This looks like something like this. It's the way I was doing it in the past, right? So it's like a scan assemblies from path. Let's see if I can find the exact code I'm looking for. Well, I guess I can just do This one's not bad. Lamar provides facility for registering types by finding assemblies in the application bin path. Now, what's this assembly scanning folder, though? Where do I get that from? Sometimes I try to do this like it starts with, this is what I really need to do right here. This is all I really need to do. So I guess I'm thinking about other examples where I've used a starts with to simply like add everything that like starts with Swami streams and stuff like that. But I don't really need to. I can go back because I know the name of the thing. And in this case, it's assembly. So let's just put it in like that. Assembly, and then the name of the assembly, right? I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. It'd be much easier to just do Swami streams backend, because this is really the only one that matters in this case. Oh, yeah. So that should set this up, and wow, why don't we try to run it and see if it works? See if I solve my dependency injection problem. How's everybody doing out there? Hello, if you're joining and hanging out and just hanging out and watching to see what kind of mess I get myself into. That's cool. Feel free to say hello in the chat. Oh, that's okay. We'll fix that in a second. And, welcome to everybody that's hanging out. And what I want to remind you is thanks for being here. Thanks for coming around on Wednesday and spending some time with me. Don't forget tonight on the Dev Talk Show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we will be talking about Git, and Space Shot, aka or Chris Gomez, will be helping us with some tips and tricks on solving, your everyday Git problems. And if you're like me, it happens regularly. Git I find great. I love Git, and when things are working great and I'm just doing the basics, everything's fine. I don't write code every day so much these days, and so I'm a little rusty and I don't always remember certain things. And so I get myself into trouble with Git when I find myself like committing something that I didn't want to commit, or starting a merge and I want to undo the merge, or just like these things happen. And so we'll spend some time tonight talking about Git and some ways to get out of trouble with Git. And hope you'll join us on mixer.com/thedevtalkshow, or twitch.tv/thedevtalkshow, or even YouTube. The easiest way to get us on YouTube is video.thedevtalkshow.com. So the problem here is, while obviously I fixed it, it got past the dependency injection part, but I don't have a column named air date. And I remember that because last week, while I ran my tests, I never actually ran the thing to go to the database. I remember thinking that there was some conflict between a column called original air date and air date. And so let's fix that real quick. But the point is, well, before we go on, what do you think of Lamar? And I got a little backwards in how I was doing this. But if I had started from scratch, all I would have had was this nice little scan thing in there, and I wouldn't have been moving these things around and getting confused. The point is, I added two NuGet packages and a couple of lines of code, and I've got automatic scanning where needed for dependency injection. I think it's pretty cool, and love to hear what you think. So, I was going to look at this sort of database thing. So let's compile this. Let's do that. It was already compiled. Let's do what I like to do, which is close all. Close all documents is one of my favorite things. Just like reset, get back to where I want to be. And if I go to the database, we can see here there's an episodes table, which has a column called original air date. And in my domain, in my model, I think I called it here, the episode has an air date, and it doesn't have an original air date, so that's a mistake. You know what? And I'm going to do a rename, and I'm going to say original air date, and hopefully did not fix it in places it's being used. Or if it did, it didn't open those files, which is kind of interesting. So I would think this would fail because like the converter somewhere is going to have a... Oh, wait. That's odd. So it fixed it and saved it. Usually I thought, oh, maybe I needed to check a box for that. I was thinking it was going to sometimes, you know, how it opens up all the files that it changed. Okay, cool. So it changed it because here it is right here. Episode.original air date. Make sure everything still compiles. And let's try running it again. And we should see that it should work. Whether or not it really works, the DI is fixed. And I think I just fixed that problem with the database, if I'm not mistaken. So there it is. Okay. And I need to log in. Now, what doesn't work, if I'm logged in, isn't that great? This is such fabulous UI. What I don't have is a way to... Oh, I do have original air date on here. Well, let's add an episode. I don't know. I haven't really finished all my validation and all my tests, but I'm curious. If I put in this one that says the one where I added Lamar for DI, that would sort of be this, right? And I'll add some more stuff later, blah, blah, blah. Oh, tags. This is where I would say something like DI and .NET. I don't know how I'm going to do tags in here. I guess dots will be allowed. .NET Core. I think I'm going to make them like comma separated. Right now it's just a string. And Visual Studio. I don't know. You know, things like that. So it'll all help us find episodes we're looking for. And let's say, oh, this isn't working nicely at all, is it? Well, that's because I didn't give it a start. Let's just go to today. I probably could put today in there as a default. And the archive URL, well, I don't know what it is yet. And it should be nullable. So I don't know if this is going to work. It'd be interesting if it does. Okay. Look at that. It worked, which is interesting. Because I haven't finished it. I mean, it kind of should work. It shouldn't have needed that many changes if you were watching last week. But I did want to do more testing on it. And if I look at that, I don't know if details works. Did I ever wire up details? I did. And I don't show all the fields in there. But does it? I don't think I have an edit screen yet. No, I don't have an edit screen yet. So I need to add all that stuff. But what I guess the only way to find out, since nothing brings back that column, is to simply look in the database and see if that got added. And then we're going to go do some other work on this thing. I think it's this one here. View data. Let's just take a quick look. Oh, this is not the right one. What am I connected to? Connection. Oh, I might be going right to Azure. Let's find out. I'm going to check the connection string. Hang on, I just want to do this on a different screen here. This is going right to Azure. Cool. Okay. So, I could take a look at my Azure database. You know, I guess I could connect to it from here. This is it here, I think. Show me stream SQL. Yeah, let's try this. Although I don't know if I can do view data from this. Let's see what happens. Dun, 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 dun. See, this spins for a long time. Like, come on. This shouldn't be so hard. Right? So, it is... I'm actually looking forward to when this stream is done. I'm looking forward to when this stream is done, and I hope you are too. Now, what I'm looking forward to, I don't know if this is going to mess up things, but it is nice outside. And so when I'm done, I think I'm going to take lunch and go outside and see what it's like out. And maybe enjoy some fresh air. I hope you guys are getting outside. I think that is just the only thing that's keeping me relatively sane these days are the beautiful days. And it is a beautiful day here on the East Coast. I'm outside of Philadelphia. Oh, this is just taking a long time. Come on. Where's my leg? Come on. I don't know what it's doing here. Does not seem like a... Can I cancel? Oh, this is where things get really pretty. See this? My screen is now sort of... Oh, I've lost control of everything here. This is the chaos part of coding fun and a bit of chaos. Whoops. Yeah, well, I don't know what it's doing. And I could kill Visual Studio, I guess. What do we think about that? Kill Visual Studio or wait it out? I don't want to wait it out because this is like a live stream and I want things to get done. So I think I'm going to just kill Visual Studio. I'm probably not going to be able to close it from here. Is there any chance that this works? I say none. Oh, I'll take that if it works. I was expecting to have to go to task and manager and kill it, and I'm surprised that it was able to kill it from there. All right, let's go back to where we were. And I feel like we should have chants like kill it. Like we all get real like, you know, primal and like just face paint on, like kill it, chanting and getting spears in our hands. That would be like a cool graphic to have on like an overlay for streaming. Like when something like this goes wrong and we have like kill it. I think that's something we need to do. Kevin, you'll probably have that set up before I ever do. You're probably cool with that stuff. I don't know. Do I try that again or do I just go right to the portal? Let's go to the portal. And really quickly, I'm going to go to extensions because I don't think I turned on Azure Mask. Let's close this again and just go back in here. Do a new Microsoft Edge, which has Azure Mask. And go to portal. Azure.com. Yikes. You know, things are slow. As a developer, it just takes so long to do stuff sometimes. This is our database. And let's go to query editor. Oh boy, I should be able to do this. If this doesn't work, it's because I don't have the ability to log in and I'm really screwed. I have the password in LastPass somewhere. So this is slow, which is interesting. And maybe that's why the other thing was really slow and waiting. This should just, you know, work or fail quickly. And the fact that it took that long is kind of interesting. Database is not currently available. Now, I think if it was a firewall thing, it would have told me it was a firewall thing, but let's just check that. Oh boy. Let's see. Client IP is this 52. Oh, maybe my client IP changed? And that would explain why I couldn't do it before? Why it was crashing in interesting on all that. Let's see. Oh, sorry. So let's go back and we were going to look at the database. This is probably what was going on there. I hope. Sometimes the IP address thing updates really quick and sometimes it doesn't. This is also not happy. Now it failed, but it's different, right? I'm just going to try it again and see if it had something to do with... Oh my gosh. That's weird because I thought I had that enabled, but okay, no big deal. Let's go over to LastPass. I'm going to go to another window. Oh boy. And go to, I think, oh, Okay, this is getting to be interesting because we don't see it in... Oh, this is not my... Hang on, this is work stuff, I think. Oh my gosh. Open my vault. Is it this one? Nope. All right, let's take a different approach at this here. So I could go back to the database server and find out why Active Directory, where's the server? Let's go to the server. If there's an Active Directory admin, there is. Oh, test use. Oh, that's why. Oh, I was doing some other stuff. Okay. So, test user. So I need to find out what the... This... I don't know how I got myself into this trouble. Because it's not in LastPass. Obviously I can just blow this thing away. But this is turning out to be unfortunate. But I think what I did last time is... Yeah, see, I had it in... Let's try this here. Ooh, where did it go in LastPass? It's not in here. So I have to think about how can I log in? I mean, I could always just change it and set an admin, but that's going to be, this is the only user that it works for because of the way Active Directory is. So, oh, what a... I hate coding. Anybody with me on that? Who hates coding? Okay, I have another idea. That it is in... I wouldn't have just killed it completely, like not put it anywhere. So I'm looking in... Okay, I got the password. Got the password. All right, got the password. Luckily, my brain comes around. Let's go to the database. Let's go to... What's all this stuff? How do I get on this thing? Sys-test... Schwammy. Look, I totally spelled my name wrong in this one. Okay. Something's going strange here. Azure SQL. Sys-test demo. First of all, this isn't the right... I think it was this one. Was I in the wrong place altogether? Who even knows? Okay, whatever it is. I'm in here. Here's the table. Select. And let's see. All we're trying to do is find out if the date is in there. And it's in there as today. I think the 29th. And this is in there as the last day when I must have done some kind of test on it. So look at that. That works. Correctly went in there. I feel like I need a little applause because you got to celebrate the little wins. Seems like some days that's all you get is little wins. Okay, so what I was going to do, what I really wanted to do, is come in here. Whoops. Now I have to kill that password because I just exposed the password by dragging it over here. And that's okay. It's just the password to this stupid little database. And I'm going to tear it down after this show. So, what I wanted to do is finish looking at what kind of tests we needed to get us to a place we feel comfortable. Now, I was working on the validator tests last time, and it was the add episode history validator, and I was validating that the title is required and the air date must be in the past. And what else is required? So we can look in the database, and I think description is required, but I don't recall. Oh, did tags go in? I didn't even look to see if tags went in. The tags are in there, so that's cool. So we can set up search with the tagging. Okay, so functionally things are working. I want to look and see what else is required. Let's see. Okay, so the columns that are required are title. Details is required, so I need to make an air date is required, because if I'm adding it, I know the date. Okay, so let's go back in here and say, where the heck am I? Add episode DTO validator. So let's add another rule into here that says description is required. I'm just going to copy this. This is how simple it is to do these things. So what's nice about the way I think what I like about the way I write and organize the code is that I've got this single responsibility validator, and its job is to validate these simple fields. Now, I could take it a step further, and I do this sometimes, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say if the description is null or white space, then simply say description is null. Now, if I had a lot of rules for the description and a lot of rules for the title, what I would probably do is have this episode DTO validator in turn call other validators that could be more single responsibility. But since these rules are really sort of basic and just looking at the simple, is null kind of thing, to me, that's okay. And this is where we talk about single responsibility, which is going to be a topic on the Dev Talk show pretty soon. And that would be a good example to show us something like this. Like, when do I need to break this up? Pragmatically speaking, in my case, in my opinion, into more single responsibility or less single responsibility. If I want to be 100% pure, each one of these things would be in their own classes. So I need a unit test for this. I need a test to say what happens if, we could have done this code first, right? This would be the way to do this code first. Let's do that. I'm going to take this out. What the heck? So let's go over to tests. I mean, I kind of cheated because I already wrote it, but let's do it code first. Just to build on that skill, and that, I want to try to get myself to do a little bit more code test first stuff. So let's go to tests, and let's go to validators, and we go to the add episode history, add episode DTO validator test, and in here I'm going to say something like public void given a DTO, given, I hate to say a because then it messes up my camel casing or whatever, given DTO without description, then returns error message. Okay, if I'm doing this right, I can go in and I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to copy some of this thing, I think. Actually, I could probably use the one for no, okay, let's copy this for now, put that in there. So I need my DTO. I don't care what the air date is, and I don't need I do need this. I don't care what it does. So in order to create my episode DTO validator, I still need this calendar thing. Even though I'm not going to use it, I still need to inject that mock into it. And right now, I want to say it should contain description is required. I think that's pretty good. And I did not add a description. So if I do this and I call it a fact for X unit, and I could turn on my live unit testing. I forgot to do that. Live unit testing. Where's start? Right here. Start. This will take a minute. While it's doing that, I'm going to create another test, which is going to be quite similar. And I'm going to say, given a DTO with, with a description, then no message, I don't know how to word these things, is returned. Okay, and if I do that, now this is interesting that they're passing. Because I didn't say should not contain. Okay, so this one should contain description is required. And this one says, given DTO with description, then no message is returned. And this says it should not say. But of course, I didn't wire it up yet. So, but if I go to my DTO here and say DTO.description equals some text. Okay, now this test is passing as it should because there's no logic in here to say anything, but this would also make sure that we didn't write our test backwards. I'll show you in a sec. So this test is failing. Let's go over here and let's go back to here and I can put that test back in there that we had and it says description is required. And now we should see this is null. If description is null, then it should add description is required. I think I might have had a period on it in the test. Let's just see if I'm right. Oh, right. Look at that. So that test passes. Okay, that's great. What if I inadvertently did this? Is that syntax correct? How about just put a not in there? What if I inadvertently did something like this? The test is going to fail, but that's because this test, that's why I have this second test in here, just to make sure that this never happens, okay? So let's just go back and take out my thing. I like to have like sort of what I call positive and negative tests, and so I've got tests in there for that. Saw live unit testing working, which I really like, and I'm glad I remembered to set that up. And so, we had some fun and set up Lamar, which is something I wanted to do for a while for this particular thing. And now each time I add other simple dependencies, I won't have to worry about wiring those up. So I'm really happy about that. And had a Visual Studio kind of crash on me. I think that was because of that IP restriction wasn't updated correctly in Azure, but I kind of hoped it would fail a little bit more gracefully than that. But it didn't. So ending with a call to action. If you're here with me, I appreciate you spending some time with me today. And I'm going to do my commit. I always want to do a commit when I do this. Let's see. I like to end the show with a commit. So I'm going to say added Lamar. What I'm not good at doing. I want to say this out loud, right? People say don't talk about your mistakes so much, right? But if I say it, I'm going to get better at it. I want to get better at simple commits. I should have done a commit after I added Lamar, and I didn't, right? And now I have two commits. And hey, maybe tonight we could talk to Chris Gomez about how hard would it be, and I don't know the answer, for me to back out some of those changes, commit the Lamar, and then commit the other set of changes later. So I have two questions. Here's a question for Chris, right? How to split commit into two. And one way I think would be for me to stage some of the changes, but I'll leave it for him to answer that. Maybe we can talk about that. Added Lamar and a bit more validation. So if you're here and you're watching me make this commit message, I hope you will follow me on Mixer and Twitch. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. And I hope you'll come back again next Wednesday at noon, where we'll have another episode of Schwami Streams. In addition, I'm asking you to join me tonight with Chris Gomez and with Rich Ross on mixer.com/thedevtalkshow or twitch.tv/thedevtalkshow. Please join me where we'll be talking about Git and other fun stuff as we choose to talk about tonight. Come back. I hope to see you soon. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate your being here. Kev, hope to see you tonight. If you get some time, I know it's tough with kids. I know how hard that is to find time to do these things. But maybe if you get a chance, come by tonight. And it was great. Thanks for sharing some time with me today, Kev. And I'll try to pop in on your stream. Oh, you have a workshop tonight. Oh, good luck. Cool. What are you doing on your workshop? You want to share? You can even share a link if you want. Sent y'all a DM. All right, cool. I'm not checking. You can't. Oh, you can't. Okay. Oh, non-tech stuff. Oh, how cool is that? Awesome. All right. Well, anyway, that is it for the show. I'm going to go eat some lunch and get to work. And Two Frugal Dudes. Oh, I've seen. Yeah, I know your show there, Frugal Dudes. That's cool. All right. So Kev shared a link. Check it out, please. He's a friend of ours, and we all try to support each other. With that, I'm going to wrap this show up. Thanks to everybody who is here, who participated in chat, and those who were just quietly hanging out, enjoying the soft tones of Swami Streams' voice, or maybe just listening on mute and looking to see if anything interesting happens. I don't know, but take care and have a great day. Thanks, Rich.